My holiness is my salvation. Welcome, David, once again. Glad to see you here. Since my holiness saves me from all guilt, recognizing my holiness is recognizing my salvation. It is also recognizing the salvation of the world. Let's slow down. We've already seen in the last days that your holiness saves you from all guilt and its effects, let's call it that way. Recognizing my holiness is recognizing my salvation. It's one and the same thing. So the minute you recognize your holiness, you've recognized your salvation. It is also recognizing the salvation of the world. Same thing. Once I have accepted my holiness, nothing can make me afraid. Now, remember, the course is always literal. As in, it's literally saying, once you have truly wholly accepted your holiness, literally nothing will make you afraid. Remember what we said. Fear comes from the ego, or rather the ego's knowing that it is threatened by your holiness. It knows that the minute you've dropped believing in it, it ceases to exist. Fear does not come from anything else. Fear is equal to ego. Without ego, fear does not exist. And if you've forgotten how that is so, it's in one of the course text videos that we've done, and we talk about that in detail, so we're not going to repeat it here. But this is the long story short. The course does not waste words or talk figure of speech. It talks literal stuff. So once I have accepted my holiness, nothing can make me afraid. As in, literally, you will not feel fear. It's not that you will feel fear and then you'll say, oh, but God is with me, so God is going to save me and it's okay, I'm just going to pray. And no. As in, literally, you will not experience this thing called fear. And because I am unafraid, everyone must share in my understanding, which is the gift of the Creator to me and to the world. You see, fear is a function of separation. Like we said, it's a function of ego. Without separation, this concept of fear is literally non-existent. It is not a real thing in itself. It is false evidence appearing real. Okay? So without it, immediately your oneness spreads to others. Yeah? You start to share your understanding. This is how your holiness blesses others. Okay? If guilt is hell, what is its opposite? Like the text for which this workbook was written, the ideas used for the exercises are very simple, very clear, and totally unambiguous. We are not concerned with the intellectual feats, nor logical toys. We are dealing only in the very obvious, which has been overlooked in the clouds of complexity in which you think you think. Once again, this is just what I've been saying, that the course does not talk about logical or theoretical ideas, or, it talks about the obvious, the real fact. So it's asking you, if guilt is hell, what is its opposite? Yeah? And then it has warned you, before you answer this question, you must know that it is talking about literal things. Obvious things, literal things, facts that have been overlooked by the clouds of complexity of the ego's thoughts, which we think are real thoughts, but they're not. Okay? If guilt is hell, what is its opposite? This is not difficult, surely. The hesitation you may feel in answering is not due to the ambiguity or the lack of clarity of the question, but do you believe that guilt is hell? So it has just challenged you here. It's saying that the question, if it sounds at all confusing or difficult, or if you feel hesitant to answer, it's not because the question is complicated or unclear. And then it challenges you. First of all, do you believe that guilt is hell? Guilt is hell. If you did, you would see at once how direct and simple the text is, and you will not need a workbook at all. No one needs practice to gain what is already his. So again here, in my opinion, it is saying that we do not believe that guilt is hell. That's why we seem to be confused by this question. And that's why we seem to need the workbook in the first place. That if we did not believe, if we actually knew guilt to be hell, we would not need a workbook, because we would not need to practice to gain what is already ours. In other words, it's saying the workbook is helping us to realize that guilt is hell and to realize the opposite of guilt, because we don't believe that guilt is hell. See how the course works? It's very, I like the way it dances with words, but in a very realistic way. We have already said that your holiness is the salvation of the world. What about your own salvation? You cannot give what you do not have. A savior must be saved. How cool is that? You cannot give what you do not have. A savior must be saved. Because your holiness is the salvation of the world. Maybe you didn't even choose to be the salvation of the world, but because you chose holiness, you are automatically the salvation of the world. But first of all, before you can give the world salvation, you have to have your own salvation, your own holiness, and you cannot give what you do not have, for a savior must be saved. How else can you teach salvation? Today's exercises will apply to you, recognizing that your salvation is crucial to the salvation of the world. As you apply the exercise to your world, the whole world stands to benefit. Your holiness is the answer to every question that was ever asked, is being asked now, or will ever be asked in the future. Slow down. Why? Because we've said that knowing is a state of being of our Creator, of us, our real true state of being. In knowing, we have no questions. Therefore, if salvation or holiness is the one that is going to take us back to our real nature, our true self, or awaken to our true self, therefore, holiness is automatically the answer to every question that ever was asked, being asked now, or ever will be asked in the future, because automatically the holiness takes you to a state of knowing. Do you see how now holiness is the answer to every question? Because once you're knowing, the questions stop, because you know all of it, you know the whole, everything. Your holiness means the end of guilt and therefore the end of hell. Your holiness is the salvation of the world and your own. How could you, to whom your holiness belongs, be excluded from it? God does not know unholiness. Can it be he does not know his Son? I think when you meditate on this, you'll start to get your own answer. I don't want to superimpose my own answer. You'll get your own answer to the original question. If guilt is hell, what is its opposite? This paragraph hints to that answer. So anyways, thank you for your time, and please, your exercises are down below. See you tomorrow.